There's a guy called McAdams who wrote a book called The Person, and he said that identity is shaped by two things: your occupation and your ideologies. I spent about 7 years abroad, and when I came back, I remember feeling very lost. I would feel very lost because I would go to circles, and Kenyans have this thing of asking, oh, hey, so what do you do? So where do you live? Oh, so what are you doing now? And everybody would go like, oh, I'm teaching our professor, my daughter CEOs, you know? And I would be like, so if it's about the title, then I'm lost because I'm me, you know? I am me. But these are some of the things that we have allowed to be part of our identity, and they are justifiably so. Another definition of identity is the exact likeness in nature and qualities. So you can say this is identical to this. That's when we talk about identical twins, because there's something about how they look alike, they resemble. And then another one is about the awareness of self. So from you observe yourself, that is what you see. You rate yourself. I'm good, I'm average. Somebody said I'm really good at this. I'm proficient in English. I'm that. So there's a rating that you give of yourself, and it defines you. And then there is also an effort people make to improve themselves. We have heard from Sir Andrew's story. Like, he's been on that journey of not being what the past defined him to be, but he has been improving self. And then there's sustaining self. Sometimes you got to just maintain what you got, then who you are. So we are talking identity. And let's look at the worldview. In psychology, we say this, that your worldview, your outlook towards life will be shaped firmly in place by the time you're a teenager. As you hit teenage, your world is done. That's how the way you think, the way you view people, the way you solve issues, your emotional regulation, these are things that have already been shaped by the time you're 13 years. However, through teenage, you find there's a refining that occurs because you're suddenly starting to discover yourself. So we are realizing that identity is not cast on stone. You're growing through it. You're refining yourself. And then as you become a young adult, majority of us are at that stage today. Then, again, your experiences continue to define who you are. And then you are able to pass that to other people as you become an adult. So whether children or you become a teacher, so to the students. I love the story of the teacher. Who shared the story of the teacher? I think it's Ambani who talked about a teacher who counseled him. No, it was you, Sir Andrew, the teacher who had his story noticed, observed, and then was able to call the brother and say, hey, is this true? And the brother says, that's actually true. And then she takes an action. I would have loved to hear how that dynamic went. But that was an adult who passed on and gave an identity to a young man. And we have him here. And so our worldview is shaped from a very early age. And the beliefs that we have about ourselves are shaped by the people around us. Your parents, your siblings. Siblings like the ones Dorcas was saying, my brother called me this. You know? Some people showed you good things. They demonstrated, they taught you how to read, how to write. But for others, it was negative experiences. But all that is shaping our beliefs and identity. So friends, sometimes media messages, what are we hearing? And those early relationships shape your humanness, the person that you are. According to a writer that I love called Nancy Von Pelt, who has written a book called Train Up a Child. She's amazing. And then your confidence in who you are and how grounded it comes from your sense of self. Who am I? How do you see yourself? How do you rate yourself? And how do you accept yourself? Have you accepted who you are? That even your past experiences, your painful experiences and the good ones, that we have all contributed to make you who you are.
Moving out.
I know that we have a lot of identities, many types of identities we've heard, but I'm going to mention just a few, just to bring us to speed with when we talk identity, what are we really talking about? There's your core identity, who you really are. And that's where I hope all of us can get by the end of this talk. There is an identity that is ideal, and there is one that is real and odd. There is a theorist called Carl Rogers who actually talked about the theory of self, and he said, there is a real you, the person that you know that you are, and you know. You can wear another face, you can wear masks, but there's a person that you know. So that's the real you. But then you also have another person you keep thinking, if I could wake up early and stop procrastinating and work harder, I could have been this. That's the person you think you ought to have been. And then there is the person the world has painted. We call that the ideal picture. Like as a young man of 30, 20 years, the ideal should look like this. So you see, all these are parts of self, and when there is incongruence between who you really are and who you ought to be, on the ideal that you are thinking the society has molded you to be, then there is, it's not, when it doesn't match, there's something we call incongruence. And it contributes to some dissonance about our identity. Then there is a person you've been trying to live out to. Like, I don't like how my dad did this. I don't want to be like this person or whatever, or I admire that person and I want to be like that. And so you are trying to live up to something. So again, it can cause dissonance or consonance. There is false and true identity. There is a distorted sense of self, which I call a broken sense of identity. There is self-puncture, where you have assaulted yourself, like who you are, by your own self-sabotaging behavior or thoughts. And you keep thinking, I am not worthy, I am like this, I am so this. And you actually assault your own identity. So that does happen. But I don't know if you have a video, the person behind my slides, on the Clark doll. If you have that video, you could play it for me. But there is this person, a researcher, who actually did a test and called it the Clark doll test. And he was checking how children view themselves in regard to race. Of course, he used a community where racism was happening. And so he brought some children, pretty young children, together and was just checking, have you internalized any biases, any beliefs, any prejudices that are shaping who you're becoming or shaped your identity. And so he was trying to talk about self-awareness. If you have that video, the Clark doll test, I would really like to play it. Then there's also this guy, I'm trying to give you time to get that video. There's also this man called Malcolm X, who was a black man in America. And he kept wondering, why is my hair so kinky? Like, I wanted to look straight, like the Muzungus. And so he kept using a lot of chemicals. I would imagine probably he was palming or relaxing his hair, trying to get it to the Mzungu texture. But of course, after a few weeks, his hair would grow back again, and then he would do the same to his skin. And he said, I almost colored my skin, trying to look like the person that I probably thought is the ideal person. These are things that we deal with about identity. So I don't see it on the screen. I'm gonna move on. But if you're able to check it out, because I know you guys are digital, I want you to look at a video called the Clark doll test. And I want you to see children who are being asked which one of these is the cuter one. So they are given a white doll and a black doll. Right there. If you're able to play it, I would really appreciate it. Yeah.
Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? Which doll is the nice doll? And which doll is the bad doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and you have 2 eyes.
And which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's black.
And which doll looks most like you?
Me
Yeah, which one looks like?
and that one. Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you like to play with?
Thank you. I want you to just, that one is okay. You can now find me the one for Malcolm X. And as he does that, I don't know what you're feeling right now after watching those children, right? Those are young, very young
The
children.
child's wanted.
Very young children. And they're pointing at different colors, but they've already decided this one is cuter, this one is better, this one is simply because of color. And then until they are asked, so which one looks like you? You know? And it's hard now to say, okay, I said this is the bad one, I said this is the, because of what you form in our minds. If you look at the Malcolm X, you can play the art, finish it, and BP. No, not that video, the next one. Sorry, I wish we had time to do these things and explore them together. But these are false identities that our world has adopted based on race, based on biases and injustices. We have our world defining us because of the car you drive, the place you stay, the estate, you know, where you came from. Kenya, we even know about ethnicity. These are things that are used to actually identify people. Economic backgrounds, the culture of the day, how you dress, the weave you have on your head, how much it was, the braids versus the short hair. And these are things that are real, that are happening, but our world today has a lot of false identities we have embraced. We are using social comparisons from media and trying to say, you know, this person seems to have the perfect marriage, the perfect relationship, look where they have gone, look at where they are vacationing. And we tend to think this is it. I'm the only one who is not really getting it. You know, my life is different. I'm not on the soft side of life. But we are, this is a whole lie because it's so curated, but we have believed it. We are tolerating taboos, things that were taboos before that have been made to look right. And when you try to be on the side of the right thing, you're marginalized. That is our day today. But you don't need to be people who know what we stand up for, because there are many, many false identities. We have a population that has not interacted a lot with the extended families. It's sad when the extended family becomes a pain, like the story we had earlier. But majority of the extended families are really out to build people, and that's why I got excited when I got to see our seniors in the house. But you find we are denying our younger children the closeness, depriving them of that, the wisdom, the warmth, the love that comes from the older generation. So these are things that are happening today. But we also know that we are wired for something. We are wired for reciprocity and connection. So we do need to connect with other people because that is how we find ourselves. So there's something about shaping identity. And this is what we are talking about. How does family shape identity? First, the environment that the family creates around. Two, the nature, like the person that they are, what is running in their veins. So the family of origin is something that I want us to think about and how it shapes identity. In a way, beyond the environment, then the family you come through. And like I said, a lot has been spoken this morning. I almost feel like I don't have to go beyond the stories that we have heard. But everybody needs a family, at least a group that takes care of them: connection, community, and purpose. Because purposelessness also steals hope, like we have heard from Dodo's story, that when you don't know where you're going, even hope cannot be kept alive. I'm trying to manage time, and there are a lot of theories that have looked into how families shape identities. But I want to talk about the family crucible more than any other. That parents do have a sacred duty. They guide, they restrain, they put the right controls, the right boundaries to protect us. They show love for those who understand how to express it. And they build our character. They communicate, they teach us to support each other, they teach discipline, they encourage. Mothers are golden. A mother who is sober can achieve so much. And that is something I'm calling us to as young people, that one day you will also establish families. Become a mother who is in touch with your role. Understand that I am shaping destinies, I'm shaping generations. It doesn't stop with me. It is so necessary. So mothers will teach and they will nurture. They are the heart of the family. Fathers, again, fatherhood has come on strongly this morning. They will provide, they will accept you, they will protect, they will give you a name and security. But when a father is frustrated, when a father is absent, not available, the children end up also being impacted according to their identity. They never really get to know who they are. They also grow up with the wrong concept of God the Father, because they are looking at God from a very imperfect perspective. So children do suffer the consequences of parents' mistakes. And the environment at home determines the potential of the tree, the person that is growing there. Like we have had ourselves being told that the sharks, the growth, the size the shark will get to depends on how big the ocean is, the space they are given to grow into. It's the same thing. An oak tree, it's a small seed, but it will thrive to a very big tree depending on the environment. And so there is what everybody needs that the family of origin gets to provide. Your family of origin gives you a template of emotional, social environment. A very lasting imprint is left on you. They shape you, what you believe in, what you value, how you behave, how you treat other people, how you relate with others. And so it becomes a collective space where you can ask yourself, who am I? And you should get the right answers from the family of origin. Unfortunately, that is not always the case. But I want you to try and think about things that you did in the family that have shaped you. If we had time, we would discuss them in the house. But there's a lot that we are today because of how things were done in our homes. I remember my dad and my mother being very keen about education. Like, you guys, education is what will give you what you want in life. Education is what will get you beyond where we have reached. They pushed it on us, and so we were one family that was very educated. And I remember in primary school, we would be that family where my mother had 10 children, and they would be like, class 1 to 7, she has somebody represented. And there would be like, they would give awards, number 1, so and so, number 2, class 2, so and so, and the whole family would be out there, and you're taking wrappers and pencils and nyayo maziwa home because we were doing well. But it had been a value that was planted on us. I have seen people who are very keen on timekeeping, and it is sourced from a parent who insists, be there before time. And you hear children saying, my dad taught me, my mother said, I should be there 10 minutes before. And then there are, of course, others where its values are all probably hospitality towards others, about gratitude. There are people who just have a beautiful spirit and they have taken it over as a value from their families. And so when we get to understand our family of origin, we are able to make sense of our current struggles or emotional triggers, like, why am I feeling like that? What's making me respond? Why did I get hurt when that person said that? Why did I suffer that breakup? What is it about me that could have contributed to the breakup? So when you understand your family of origin, then you're able to to even understand negative cycles that you probably need to break that would have come through the family of origin. You're able to develop healthier boundaries if you can understand your family of origin. You can make more conscious choices in adulthood if you understand your family of origin. And so this is a key thing that I want us to carry with us. I have a picture there of hands that are forming a pot. And it's the same way. It's a picture I want us to carry about how a family shapes people. Because family shapes identity daily. And we become the people we are with the most, the person you're hearing from. The impact will be negative or positive. Which words are being spoken around you? Again, this morning, that picture was covered very, very well. So I won't dwell much there. But dysfunctional dynamics in a family always lead to insecurity. They will lead to low self-esteem and low self-worth and identity confusion when families are dysfunctional. Also, people will tend to repeat patterns, even if they are negative, that have been learned from parents. We heard about they would lie all the time. I became a liar. It was a norm for me until I met a new order, because there are conscious things that you pick unconsciously from your family of origin that will also form who you're becoming. Unfortunately, the future, happiness or success of somebody really depends on that mental picture that is painted from a very early age. And so it's important. We have parents here, probably. We have young parents or people who are getting into parenting. And I want you to understand that your words are powerful. The words you speak to each other, to siblings in your home, to your parents, to your children, they are so, so important. If you use belittling words, you will never amount to anything. How could you do that? Look at you, you're clumsy, you're that. You're shaping identity. I am forming an identity, and it's contributing to that pot that you can see over there. When siblings treat each other roughly, or say mean things to each other, or fight, when parents pay attention or do not pay attention, according to the emotional health, like we've had again this morning, there's a parent who will be somewhere and they just don't have to offer anything to offer to the child because they don't have it within them. So within that emotional instability, it's also shaping identity. And there is where love is withheld because you're meant to be your performance. You did well, I'm your friend. You failed your exam, what are you doing? And you get this bashing and it forms, you're forming daily. And so it's important that we continue to, even ourselves as we are here, to think about, with the words that I'm speaking around people, what am I bringing out? Am I tearing down or am I building up? There's a story in the Bible that I like when Jesus came to John the Baptist. And as he stood there, the Bible talks about how the Spirit of God, like in form of a dove, descended on him. And then there was a booming voice from heaven that people heard around, but they didn't see who spoke. And the voice said, "You are my beloved Son, I am pleased with you." And so we see God the Father affirming Jesus just before he started getting into his ministry. God the Father said, "You are mine. I love you. I am pleased with you." And I guess that's all Jesus needed to be able to move forward and thrive in his 3 years of ministry. And because of that start, he did so much because he didn't have an earthly father, but there was an affirmation from his heavenly Father from whom he had come. So God is affirming Jesus' identity. And as parents and as people, even working in the marketplace, we need to affirm people. We need to validate people. We need to support people. We need to make people feel loved and needed and respected and that they belong, because that gives security to people. But when we fail to give that kind of attention, we end up destroying the identity of others. So there are internal and external factors that I would like to mention in passing that influence identity. Attachment is key. How you attach from a very early age. Modeling from your family. What are you seeing how is your dad, what does your dad do, what does your mother do, whether discipline is given or not. I've talked about words and our childhood experiences, like the traumas we have heard about today. There is communication and conflict handling in the family, and just parenting style, because authoritarian parents who control too much also are building on an identity. Then there are external factors. Your sphere grows, you get out, you go to school, you go to university, you go to the marketplace, you get into churches, you're here now. And again, all that is making you, those are the external factors. Think of somebody who is abroad trying to navigate the world. And again, they face the kind of thing that Malcolm X faced. I don't know if you got that video of Malcolm X, because I would like us to think about the questions that he asked. So if you're able to play it kindly, find it for me, and just to play it. I want you to hear the questions that he asked after struggling with trying to straighten his hair. He got a platform. Of course, we know him as an activist, and there are some very solid questions that he posed to his audience. So let's listen to it.
Who taught you to read? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such an extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your head? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the sole of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad to DJ, you should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God made you.
Thank you. Let's stop it there. Who taught you to hate the color of your hair? Who told you? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? How is it molding you? This guy became an activist and really helped a lot of people, because of course he was in a time, in an era when the blacks were really, they were really disadvantaged. But the same questions to ask today. What are you hearing around you? Who are you allowed to influence who you're becoming? Who is shaping your identity? Because you are becoming all that day by day. So let's look at how a broken identity impacts someone. Again, we have heard of it. Some of it has come through the narratives of this morning. But a family background and parenting can easily break someone. And when identity fails, you will realize that a person will grow up with a sense of victim mentality. Like, I am helpless, I'm a failure, I can't make good decisions. And such people end up also trying to be really good people pleasers, because you're trying to earn your way into people's hearts. So we call it being insecurely attached. And of course the impact is negative. We have come to experience a lot of hate in our generation. I don't know why, but in our therapy rooms, we are finding a lot of young people struggling with low self-confidence and low self-worth and low self-esteem and self-doubt and suicidal ideation and suicidal attempts, more than probably we have had in a previous generation. There's social anxiety and people feeling inadequate about things. And some of these things are coming because you have rejected yourself out of all the narratives that you have been hearing. And so the question is back to, what is influencing that distorted sense of self? When you feel rejection from significant people, when you think, I can't be able to take up this responsibility, we are talking about a distorted identity. When you feel, I can't succeed in life, there are too many limits, or I'm being used by other people, or others want to take over, they're not letting me be me. That's a distorted sense of self. But then we have a securely attached person. This is a person who is raised in that kind of an environment that enables them. And so they're able to form a mental picture that they have self-acceptance, they appreciate themselves, they have self-worth by becoming aware, just self-awareness, and intentionally deciding, I'm going out of this, I'm gonna grow like the butterfly. So there's a scripture in Genesis 1:27 that says, God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, and God has given you unique giftings, features that he intricately designed. So you're not just, no one is a mystic, and no one came at the wrong time. God was very, very intentional about your life. And that is something I have heard from many who have attempted suicide who say, when I woke up, then I realized God had a plan. And it's true. God does have a plan because we are his masterpiece. Ephesians 2:10 says, we are God's masterpiece. And he has created us so we can do the good things he planned for us long before. Psalms 139, verse 13 to 16 is my favorite scripture since I was a child, because it tells me that there's a record of my life. God has, that he knew me before he knit me in my mother's womb, and he knew you, and he has a record of your life. So why won't you align to that record and allow it to unfold beautifully? Because you have been beautifully, wonderfully made by the Creator. And he made you for himself. He made you that your heart may find rest in him. And your heart will be restless until you rest in him. And so I'm making an appeal that as we seek out our identity amidst the changes, amidst the confusion in our world culture, that we shall stay true to this one thing, that he made me and he has a plan, that he loves me and he's walking with me and he will never leave. That even when you're alone, you can remember that I'm not alone. When everything else is shouting that you know life is dying, this negative, you will remember that God has a beautiful, beautiful plan for you. And so it's not about you becoming anything that your soul was made to be. You are meant to simply be with God. And the more you're with him, the more you will stop fearing the world and what it does. So let your mind feast on what God has spoken about you. Let yourself be consumed by what God thinks about you. Because you will need to say that I am believing what God has spoken over my life. And as I finish, there's a scripture I want you to take with you, Psalms 37:5. I like it in TPT version that says that just give God the right to direct your life. And as you trust him along the way, you will find he pulled it off perfectly. Psalms 37:5. Give him the right to direct your life, to remind you of your identity, to reveal to you who you are, even when you do not really get it. And God is faithful. He will not fail you. So as we deal with our beautiful stories and our good stories, let us stay true to our identity, like the butterfly, and keep blossoming. The Lord bless you and keep you and watch over you as you live.
Amazing. As we are used to use that master